What's been happening at Maitland Local Court this week? Well, there are about 125 people listed to appear. Can I find out any public information about these cases? Yes, I found out information about one of these 125 cases because our local paper here in Maitland published an online story. The story reports that a driver who's 55 years old was sentenced on Wednesday this week after punching his own car back in April 2024. Yes, it wasn't just all about him assaulting his own car. Rather, he was charged with negligent driving with no death or grievous bodily harm. And the second charge was drive under the influence of drugs, also known as drug driving. The story's got a few details about how he crashed his car and what type of drugs were in his system. I think it's great that we got a story because now we can hear about the consequences which can assist in deterring us from negligent and drug driving. The story details that he agreed to pay $6,000 in damages to the other vehicle. It also states that there was no penalty recorded for the negligent driving charge. While the drug driving charge, he was sentenced to an intensive corrections order for 6 months. That's jail in the community for 6 months. He must also do 50 hours of community service. He was also disqualified from driving for 2 years. So, drug driving and crashing your car into another car may cost you $6,000, 50 hours of community service, being supervised for 6 months, and not being allowed to drive for 2 years. Plus a conviction which may impact on your life in different ways, including if you return back here with a new charge. As for punching your own car, well, that's not actually a criminal offence. However, it sounds like it would hurt. So that's all for this week's cases. I do have a correction from earlier in February, as I missed an online story about a case from here at Maitland Local Court. My apologies, I found it. So now I'm mentioning it, that during the week of starting the 17th of February 2025, there was an online story about a sentencing here. The story reports that the woman was sentenced to a community corrections order for 12 months for assaulting another patient at Maitland Hospital in September 2024. The woman has a number of different cases on the court list and they actually appeared this week. The story does give details about these other assault type charges, one of which is set for a hearing later in the year. So my lesson this week is to watch the internet a bit closer so I don't miss out on these online media stories. Now the sun is out this morning, but it has been a rainy week in Maitland. But not as rainy as the northern rivers of New South Wales as well as parts of Queensland, including Brisbane Vegas and the Goldie. Cyclone Albert arrived up there this week, and I hope the levees hold. Of course, there are local courts in that area, such as Tweed Heads and Lismore. So what happens to the local courts during a cyclone? Well, they close. It's the same here in Maitland when we have a flood. The court will close, cases might get adjourned or transferred elsewhere. However, you can still get arrested during a cyclone and floods. So if you urgently need to appear at the local court because you're a fresh custody, don't panic, because other local courts in New South Wales are still operating and will lend a hand. Yes, your case can be heard somewhere else in New South Wales that isn't being impacted by a cyclone. But really, do you need the New South Wales local court as part of your day if you're dealing with a cyclone? I'm going to say no.